Sofu and Atlanta and Georgia and everything in between. Oh, that's only 2 places, isn't it? Okay, I meant northeast, southeast, east-west, west-west.
All of the compass.
And now everything in between. And all of the compass. What's up, guys? It's Michelle Taylor Willis. First and foremost, I have to say she's an AKA. I'm sorry, A comes before a D.
That's fine. That's fine.
Sorry, but but my sorority sister, who I know and love, Judge-elect Kenya Johnson, is with us today, and she.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Yes, absolutely, and I love what you talk about with legacy and all of these things in terms of protecting our family and wealth, and so I want to make sure we get into that, but not before I introduce, and the only reason you went second is because Delta is D.
And I'm younger than all of y'all too, so.
Are you age? So now we got jokes. Oh, do you want to laugh? Okay, listen.
She let her elders go first.
That's right. My mama taught me to be respectful.
How do you know I'm older than you? I could be like, I'm a millennial, you know. Silence, crickets. I need a cricket sound. Can we please make a note? Can I get crickets? And there you go. Exactly. Oh, that was awesome. Just record your music. But we are so happy to have Judge-elect Shermeala Williams with us in the house. She was here, of course, when she was campaigning, and she now has been elected as well. So 2 judge-elects in that house, and she is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. So.
Absolutely. So they can't see, but I'm wearing pink on the bottom as a tribute to you.
Gosh, you know what? Wait,
we don't need those tributes. Thank you.
I've got my crimson and my pink blush.
Because we all work together. Well, I'm sure my producer, Noni, my producer, was super happy when Shermeala came in and she had like Delta everything. And I was like, hold on.
She had on her silver mask.
There's one Delta in the house allowed at the time. Somebody's got to hear. But no, I'm so excited to have both of you guys in here today because, again, it's always fun to watch people's journeys. And when you first came in, Kenya, you came in and you made such an impact on the show because you were speaking truths about what's wrong and how we make it right. And I got so much feedback from that, and I'm sure you probably did too.
Absolutely. Michelle, I want to say thank you so much for giving us this platform to share what we want to do and how we want to serve. And so this appearance on According to Michelle and on 106 Mix really got the word out, really helped. We saw great numbers at the polls and, record numbers at the polls. And just in the marketing piece and being able to reach an audience and your online audience was very helpful to all the candidates. So thank you so much for allowing us to come on.
I appreciate it. Let me give myself
change agent. Yes, you are.
Seriously, it's my pleasure. And I'm so excited because, of course, these shows are now going to be aired again. I don't even know, I won't say re-aired because it's not really aired, right? I mean, they'll be aired. So you can listen to it on Mix 106 and then you can watch it on the new branded AIB network every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That's channel 295 on cable, Comcast, and ATT Universe is channel 6. I always want to say Universe. Wonder why they didn't say just Universe. Like, why did they say ATT Universe? Like, it's so hard. Like, why does everybody have to make everything so difficult?
Like Xfinity.
Like Xfinity. That kind of makes sense though. But they didn't say Extrafinity. Like AT&T could have been like on AT&T Universe. But they're like ATT Universe.
The U may stand for something else though.
Like what?
I don't know.
Undivided, unequal, unequity.
Ooh, I'm not commenting on that.
I'm just joking. I have no idea if AT&T needs any of those things. But I'm a little sad today. Oh, dang it. I keep saying I need sad. Oh, wait. Here we go. Sad music. Because DC's not here right now. And so he's going to be coming, but we don't know where he is. Yeah, he usually sits right there. I don't know where he is, but he is gonna make it at some point to the According to Michelle show. He's probably like, she don't really need me. I don't matter. I'm here to tell you, you matter. All DCs matter. But I was talking to somebody the other day, and I thought that this was really interesting. How COVID and this whole thing we're in right now, it's like the best of the worst. Have you noticed that? Like, there's incredible things happening.
It's a bittersweet time.
It is bittersweet is actually a great word to use, because it's like we can't figure it out, right? We can't figure out if we should be happy or sad.
And our emotions are roller coasters right now. We were just talking about that. You're happy about the great things, but then you can be depressed watching the death toll and the infection rates and rolling back unemployment rates and hearing about the forecast for our financial futures. It's scary. It's depressing. So I go from being happy to sad to happy to be sad to getting some ice cream.
Hey, guess what? I've been making homemade ice cream.
Oh, what time shall I be there?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Because if you're eating ice cream, Kenya, I got you so covered. My specialty right now is cookies and cream ice cream. Yeah.
That's like baking bread. Why do you have to? They make it so easily. What made you decide to make?
Well, you know, you guys, I love
ice
to
cream.
eat. I love to eat.
Your IG cooking channel, as I've coined it, is amazing.
Wow.
And you, Shermeala, you're driving your beautiful Jaguar.
See, nobody knows what kind of car I drive, but now you just told the world.
We'll exit out. Edit that. Delete it. I didn't know it was a secret. You gotta tell me this thing. Delete that out. And for everybody who heard it, pretend you did. It didn't happen. That's not what she said.
That was actually my 35th birthday gift to myself. So
I love that.
I drove a 2002 Honda Civic for 16 years. And then when it was, I wanted a new car. And I said, you know what? I work hard. I went back and forth about what I was going to get. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always had a thing for Jaguars. And so when they came out with the Jaguar SUV, I said, that's what I want right there. So that's what I got.
And that's what made me, that's what I thought about. Because again, it's just about being intentional about what you want and how you're going to get it, right? And so I love that, because that's what you've been dreaming about that forever.
Absolutely.
And being a good steward, right? Which is kind of ties in to what you do, Kenya, right? I mean, actually being a good steward and suffering, so to speak, for a little while so that you can live big when you really, quote unquote, make it. And that's a big thing. Like, people don't understand how to kind of just chill for a minute. We want it now. We live in the society where it's like, it's got to be now. Or
Instant gratification.
Instant gratification.
Right.
And so if we can hold out just a little bit, there's usually something on the other side of that. So
Well, you can't feel entitled. You've got to earn certain things. And if you're patient and you work and you earn it, then you feel more gratified when you have it. I'm sure.
And that's
you
part of what
pretty when you ride.
Absolutely. And that's part of what I tell my students. Like, people always want
so
to.
great students.
I teach adjunct at Spelman. It's been 10 years now. This is going into my 11th year, actually. But I tell.
Finish your statement and then I want to come back.
Okay, so I tell them all the time, like, understand that there is a process to things, and when you work hard and when you put in that time, like, absolutely. But what we cannot do is get it twisted where we feel like we don't have to work hard, but we get all of the benefits of working hard.
That's exactly right.
And so I tell them, you want to come work 50, 60 hours like I do, then you can drive what you want to drive. Right now, you're driving your parents' money.
Right.
And so on my
But I'm sorry, did everybody hear that? I'm sorry, whose money are you driving?
your parents' money, you know?
Just in case there were like
Right.
sons and daughters in the room.
And to that point, you know, it's funny because when we look full circle, when I started at the DA's office, Kenya's office was literally right next door to mine.
Yes.
So sitting here, I just thought about that. Like, we're sitting next to each other.
Neighbors again.
And sister judges and sister campaigners, and we have lots of parallels. I wanted to mention when I bought my first house, they give you the list of upgrades. And you could get a hot tub and stainless steel and hardwood floors, and I had a list of upgrades that equated the cost of the house. And my father said, wait a second, you're 25 years old. You haven't earned your dream house yet. And I realized that, and I was so glad that I made the choice to be conservative so that now my next house, I can have the things that I want because I've earned it a little more. So entitlement is very important.
I
Absolutely.
think so too, especially if you know you hold out, to your point, Shermeala, you hold out for it. And then when you come back for it, it's like, it's even better.
You know, and so just making sure that we are positioning ourselves, and even in the worst of situations, I tell people, try to save at least $10.
Yes.
that $10 makes a difference. My mother is an accountant, and so when I was young, she always said to me, even if you save $10 a week when I was in college, you will see a drastic difference than if you start at 40 or start at 30 and are saving $100, $1,000 a week.
Right.
You'll see a difference between that 10 versus that 100.
So your mom was an accountant.
She is. My mother is an
You were born
accountant.
into responsibility.
Yes, and my stepdad is a CPA. Yes.
Numbers everywhere. Were they disappointed when you were like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that? They wanted to pass down the CPA ship to you.
I was always a talker, not a puncher.
Really? Well, it worked for you in this campaign, right? And speaking of which, let me ask you guys, because of all the times to run for an office, this ended up being
Crazy.
Literally the most the most interesting and crazy, to your point, time to actually run. What was that like? I mean, you start off thinking, all right, this is going to be great. I'm going to get advertising here, and I'm going to go here and get all these people on. We're going to be out all the time. And then it was like COVID.
Well, so the election was June 9th, and now we have a runoff that's coming up. But most people and candidates began to prepare to run for office, in the late fall of the year before. So you take all these campaign classes and you have your timelines, and then that completely blew up in March. So whereas you would be out kissing babies and shaking hands, you could no longer have that interaction.
Right.
So what do? People are at home, they're listening to the radio, they're watching television. How can I speak to them where they are while they're at home, bored, confused as I am? So it was heavy social media, it was heavy television, it was heavy radio and opportunities, podcasts, things like this to get the word out. And so while we still spoke to the people, we just had to switch it up a bit. And then then became the food drives, and that was an opportunity to get out and meet the people while helping and serving and being a servant in action. So you just have to switch up the playbook a little bit and be flexible and
pivoting, even in campaigning.
And we had to be creative. So one of the things, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but also having our support groups, like Kenya and I talked almost daily during this whole thing, and that didn't just start during COVID. We initially started talking in October just as a support group thing, okay, we're both about to go through this, neither one of us had planned it, and it was just kind of like, okay, so let's just be there to be an ear for people, because you can't really, like you said, to your point, speak openly a lot on the campaign trail. You got to be careful about voicing your frustrations, and so you've got to make sure that you have your people who you can vent to, who you can talk to, etc. So that relationship kind of formed naturally way before COVID, and so part of that was we would just have to be creative, and not that we campaigned together, but we just had a support group of each other, and then some other people that really you got to be able to think outside of the box, because this was not your average race by any means.
This election cycle was historic in so many ways. This was the first time that the governor put out absentee ballots and the Secretary of State. And so people that may not have normally voted thought and considered about voting because it came to their mailboxes. Right. And so then there were several people that wanted to vote absentee and didn't get their absentee ballots. So that's why you saw the returns come in so slowly, because they had to count those ballots and we had to speak to different audiences. And so there was record turnout this go around, and I think the protests preached that you should vote local and you should participate locally. Then there was everyone on television at home during COVID, so they didn't have much to do but to watch and follow politics in a sense. And then this is a special time in which women are asserting themselves and offering themselves for service. So it was all of that mixed together, I think, that contributed to the high numbers. And I don't know if we'll ever see a time, I hope so, but I don't know if we'll ever see a time like we have this time.
Yeah, which is crazy. And listen, we have to take a quick break, but I want to come back to that and talk about how you guys now are managing, the aftermath, not the good aftermath, I should say. Not usually when people say aftermath is bad, but the aftermath, right? And what that looks like, juggling now your lives and as you're preparing to kind of move into these new positions. So guys, you're listening to the According to Michelle show on MixXX106radio.com. Hang tight. We'll be right back with Dr. John Lipman.
It's time for new leadership in the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, and Patrick Labatt is the right leader for the right office at the right time.
It is an amazing opportunity that we have before us to change what public safety looks like in Fulton County. And with a 30-year career wrapped up with the City of Atlanta Department of Corrections, having moved from officer to sergeant to lieutenant, skipping over captain to major, and serving 10 years as chief has really taught me a lot, has really shown me that executive level leadership matters.
He has a plan for reducing crime, improving public safety, addressing jail conditions, attacking recidivism, and establishing a successful reentry program. It's time for new leadership in the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, and Patrick Labatt is the right leader for the right office at the right time.
I'm Patrick Labatt, and I approve this message.
What's up, Sofu, Atlanta, Georgia, and the whole wide world? We are back on the According to Michelle show on MixXX106radio.com, on the AIB network, channel 295 on Comcast, Xfinity, or AT&T Uverse. AT&T Universe. I'm sorry. Well, you think they'll get mad at me if I start saying?
Yes.
Okay, AT&T Uverse. Sorry. Okay. How about just AIB network? And we are here with two beautiful judge-elects. We've got Shermeala Williams, who I just found out is an MUA by trade. That's makeup artist for all those who, not in entertainment. MUA stands for makeup artist. So, but I mean, she is young, she is bright, she's currently a senior litigation associate, and she is judge-elect for Fulton County. And I'm funny. And she's freaking hilarious. If you have to say I'm hilarious, it means you might not be.
No, it's just that people try to steal my thunder.
Okay, well, I'm not. I think you're hilarious. I think you're so... Look at her. She's like, I am. I got that. That's how we got the big smile, right?
I laugh at my own jokes all the time.
See, you have to, though. You have to laugh at your own jokes, right? I mean, I think we take ourselves too seriously, and it's not a thing. It's like uncool, right? So, kudos to you. And then, of course, we've got mother, prosecutor, damn near all things incredible. Oh, shoot, can I say, am I allowed to do that? Should I say darn or dang? Because now I'm regulated by the FCC, so I gotta do. But all things, legal expert, married to a defense attorney, and she's beautiful, and she's has such the perfect voice.
So now you know how we feel, because we are also very regulated.
I know. We couldn't even... Kenya Johnson, by the way. I didn't get a chance to finish your name. Kenya Johnson. But I know, because I remember even when you were trying to advertise, remember? I didn't even realize that there were certain steps that we had to make sure that we, were aware of. When we have candidates advertising, and it was just like, oh my gosh, but the regulation is crazy. And I get it, but is it too much, do you think, sometimes? Or
the judicial canons are designed for judges to portray impartiality. So if you give too much of your personal opinion or a political stance, then someone may not feel that you will be impartial to their case. Say, for instance, Republican or Democrat. Right. And so if I came out for a candidate, someone who believes in that, and another candidate may not think that I will be fair to them. Right. So we just have to be very even-keeled and very reserved in our personal comments. And even though every judge brings their own experience and perspectives to the bench, we have to ensure public confidence.
So speaking of, go ahead, were you going to say something?
No, I was just saying, one of the things is the judicial canons regulate judges in a different way than regular candidates or elected officials. So you'll see senators and all mayors and all kinds of other elected officials come out and say, oh, I endorse so-and-so. You won't ever see a sitting judge do that, because that's against the judicial canon. So, I can't come out and say, I endorse or I support Michelle for blah, 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 blah. That's
Judges cannot do it.
Judges cannot do that.
And I'll tell you that there's even been some questions about judges giving a Google review for a restaurant.
Are you serious?
Is that an endorsement for this particular restaurant? I just said I like the shrimp.
You're like, dude, the food is good.
Right, but we just have to be that careful
Can't do that
in
either.
giving our personal opinions.
That's a lot.
That's why you don't, and it's a catch-22, but that's why you don't see a lot of judges speaking on a lot of issues that may be relevant to the times. And
Right.
in part it's because judges are very regulated in what they can and cannot say, can and cannot do, who they, even down to, you and I go out to lunch together and you say, oh, Shermeala, I got this, let me pay for lunch. No, you can't actually.
I can't buy you lunch? Awesome. Let's go to lunch tomorrow. Yeah, I think I'm winning. Hashtag winning.
Winning all over.
I knew I liked this, Delta.
You're going to surround yourself with judges now.
Exactly. I'm like,
judge
Judge,
friends.
hey, let's do lunch. It's on me.
Right.
It's on me.
Then they say, no, I can't let you buy me
I'm like,
lunch.
oh, God dang it.
But you could have a personal interest, and you can have
Right.
litigation before the court, and that muddies the water. So in those situations where, say, if you were to come to court, I may have to recuse myself because I know you, and I may know the person you're battling against. So we just have to be very careful in that respect.
Which makes sense, and I get it. There's so many things to, what candidates do and then what sitting judges do. I mean, people don't even understand. So let me ask you, Judge-elect, when you take the bench, what exactly will you be doing, or what falls under your purview?
So I have been elected to the Fulton County Superior Court bench. Fulton County Superior Court is the busiest trial court in the state of Georgia. It is arguably the most powerful trial court because any case that wherein the Secretary of State, the governor, or any state actor is sued, that case comes before Fulton County Superior Court no matter where in the state it happened. So specifically, Fulton Superior Court handles those types of cases, handles civil cases as a general. It handles felony criminal cases and all family law cases or domestic relations, so adoptions, legitimations, divorces. So we handle all of that. Initially, as of right now, I will be assigned to the domestic division, the family law division.
That's tough, right?
Yeah, so I'd hear. But because of what's going on with COVID, part of what they're talking about is, there's this huge backlog in cases right now because in part, the courthouse has been shut down, and I use that as a general. It's open, but it's not open,
Right.
And so part of what they are talking about is how do we deal with this influx of cases that are coming in because you still have people committing crime.
Yeah.
You still have people going to jail.
Right.
And so, how do we deal with that? And so one of the things they're talking about is potentially redistributing some of the cases. And so having some of the family law judges take on some of the criminal cases. Because in Fulton County, you rotate through family law, the family law division. You don't stay there forever. So it's just an 18-month rotation.
Got you. Okay, so then you'll
I'll go back into the criminal civil division. And that may change. As of January 1st, I may get there and they say, hey, Shermeala, we really need you in criminal, and so we're going to rotate you out of family and put you into the general division, which is civil and criminal law.
I work with the Fulton Solicitor General's office, so we are the misdemeanor prosecutors, and so domestic violence offenses come to our office. We've seen a very large spike in domestic violence calls since people are sheltering in place.
Yeah.
Emotions are high, people are in close quarters, and so that sort of can breed conflict and angst. And so what we're doing is the judge can say that this person has to leave the home. The judge can say that there can be no more violence in that home. Otherwise, but there is a concerted effort to keep non-violent offenders outside of the jail because COVID is present in our institutions.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a standing bond order that, depending upon the misdemeanor charge, you can just get a signature bond. But domestic violence is one of the cases that has to go before the judge when they're arrested because it's a violent offense.
Absolutely.
And think about all the children that are seeing things going on now. So we are trying to reach people where they are at the Solicitor General's office, which is at home. So we're starting a big ad campaign about domestic violence to let people know that we're still here and the resources are still available to people. And hopefully we can reach people outside of their abuser. Maybe a commercial will come on with a number or mailing them
a commercial
something.
that maybe will run on the, according to Michelle TV show, or maybe, according to Michelle radio show, maybe in South Fulton Lifestyle magazine, or maybe a billboard. Hey, listen, I don't know. I'm crazy.
You got options.
We want to get the word out, absolutely, and let people know that this is what abuse looks like, and this is how you can get help, and how to stay safe. Do you have a safety plan? When your abuser starts arguing with you, and you see something bad coming, you don't run into the kitchen because that's where all the knives are.
Right.
You don't have your scarf on or your necklace because that can be used to strangle you.
Gosh, we're thinking about this stuff.
Have a bag.
There's all this stuff when you're watching movies. You're like, girl, no, not the knife. He's right behind you.
Yeah, Absolutely. I was a domestic violence prosecutor for a while, and even something as simple as when we call, we would not leave messages on the machine. You'd be amazed at how many people will just leave a message saying, "Hey, this is Assistant District Attorney so-and-so."
And that will literally, that'll spark a,
right, because people don't process that domestic violence cases, that is a different subsect, and that's a different, it's the same law, yes, but there are certain societal and emotional factors that you've got to consider when you're handling those cases.
So do you do anything with CASA? The CASA organization?
Not anymore.
So in juvenile court, you usually have your CASAs to assess the best interest of the child. They're sort of, and they serve as a complement to guardian ad litems in juvenile court. And so you don't see CASAs much in superior court because it has that criminal element. But where a child under 17 is either truant or they're adjudicated delinquent or they've been arrested or detained, then you sort of want to go into their homes and see what's really going on. So that's where you see them the most. And CASAs, which are court-appointed special advocates, are very much instrumental to the juvenile court process.
Absolutely.
Because they are a third party coming into a person's home to determine, is it best to make a recommendation whether a child should be with this particular parent or whether there should be some adjustments to their home life.
And they're not necessarily lawyers.
Right, right.
They're usually not lawyers.
Yep.
There's someone with a big heart for social work.
Right.
And anyone can be a CASA.
I will say this, I think part of the success of specifically my campaign, I don't want to speak for Kenya, was that I did a whole lot of voter education because judicial races are very low information races. And one of the things that I would say whenever I would talk to people is that generally people don't care about who the judges are until unfortunately them or a family member or loved one ends up in front of the judge or has to have some kind of experience with the justice system, whether it's in the family law court, the criminal civil court or whatever. Then people want to care about who the judges are.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. However, judges impact literally so much of our lives on a daily basis, and oftentimes,
like what exactly?
Like bonds. Even if we just look at the criminal sector, right? So someone gets arrested, it's the judge who decides if they get a bond, what bond they get, what conditions or stipulations are put on the bond, etc. Even if you're talking about HOAs, for instance, so you and your HOA get into it. Well, that case goes before a judge. If you're talking about speeding tickets, or literally, there's so many things. Adoptions, changing your name. Like you decide
that's a judge thing, huh?
That's a judge thing. The judge is the only person who can change your name for you.
That's crazy. You don't even, that's what I'm saying. Like people don't think about the impact of what you do, how it has on day-to-day life.
I agree with Shermeala that my campaign was also based in education because people didn't know what probate court was. What is that? Is that where I pay my probation? And they couldn't be further from the truth. So I realized I need to tell people the importance of probate court and then tell them how they can help themselves and how probate can help them. So it helped that I had a story and had a personal testimony. But then probate court is the court that handles, of course, your wills, but it also handles firearms licenses. Which has exploded exploded in the amount of people that are applying for probate for firearms licenses during this time. Then you get married in probate court if you want to. That's where you issue your marriage license. It also handles conservatorships and guardianships. So if you have an aging parent and they're living with you and you want to be able to pay their medical bills or handle their finances, that goes through probate court. Or if you have an adult child who is not in a capacity to care for themselves, so they may get a SSI check and you're paying their bills, that's a guardianship. So these are real life situations that everyday people face.
Wrongful death cases too.
Right. So I'd rather people know about these services and how they can help things, get your health care powers of attorney in place, get a will in place.
That's big.
Because when something happens, you're not reactive. You already have things in place. And just imagine, we've all experienced loss. And it's confusing and it's painful, and you have to take care of this business after your loved one has passed away. But imagine the measure of comfort if their words are right here and they tell you, I want my ashes, to be buried behind the church, and I want to be buried in this dress, and you're like, okay, well now you've got a mission.
And it's so easy too. I mean, just to make it so easy on your family to know, like we don't need to argue about what mama and them wanted. Like we know exactly. Like there's no argument.
Yes.
These are her words. It's been, it's in the books.
Right.
So here's a question. for both judges. Have you begun to see changes in your world as attorneys from the protests after George Floyd's death?
As attorneys, yes.
So talk to us about that, and then I'll have you follow up, Kenya.
So, of course, you have the influx of people who want to call you and be like, hey, I need some legal advice. So you see that.
And you're like, hey, let me go ahead and send that bill at $375 an hour. I got you.
Here's my cash app.
So that,
Cash out me that bill, the hourly rate.
right. So you see that, and then I think you also see conversations being had that otherwise would not have been had. And like, for instance, I had someone call me, an attorney, and he is a white man, and he called and he said, I wanted to talk to you about this because I don't really know who I can talk to or what to say or what to do when I want to do something. So I think you do see some of that. And then just from the legal perspective of doing your everyday jobs, and this isn't necessarily as much with George Floyd, but with the judicial order in place, there have been a lot of things that the deadlines have changed or court is kind of shut down and whatnot. And so really being in a space where your cases are in a limbo space, kind of, where it's just kind of like, I don't know.
Right. I bet that's a huge,
Right.
because you can't do.
And then even talking to witnesses, right? And so, I have one case where some of my witnesses in a civil case live over in certain areas. And it's like, okay, well, it's not, despite COVID, because of everything that's going on, you got to be careful about when you go talk to people, how you go talk to people, it's just a lot.
Let's talk really quickly about Fulton County and improving Fulton County.
I am excited to take the bench. Fulton County needs more diversity and needs to be more reflective of the community that it serves. And so we have taken together, we are taking steps to reflect the community that we serve. And so if I could leave office with anything, and what I plan to do while I'm in office is to fulfill my promises, which is to make services more accessible, more convenient, to educate communities about the importance of estate planning, and to overall help your quality of life. A probate court handles real life issues that we see in our neighborhoods and our families every day, and you don't have to go it alone. There are dedicated community servants and public servants that are willing to help you through the difficult task of handling probate matters. And so we just want to serve the public. We will do so, and I'm honored to be selected to be your next probate court judge. So thank you all.
Doesn't it sound like, I gotta give her applause on that. I'm telling you, didn't it sound like she's like, she found her camera. She's like, I'm pretty sure this is my camera, right? Okay, I'm going in. No, but seriously, thank you. And we're looking forward to all the wonderful things you're going to do to make us better. Shermeala?
Well, thank you so much. As a daughter of Fulton and a product of Fulton, my goal in taking the bench and serving in this position is to literally, when it's time for me to go, know that I've left everything right there, that I've given absolutely everything that I had to make the community that I grew up in, this county that I love so much, a better, safer, just more thriving place for everyone, not just segments of the population, but everyone. And to feel like the difference, that to feel like me being there made a difference.
Right.
Period. Because I think so often times we go places and we don't think about the difference that we make, even if it's just a smile or just somebody feeling like, you know what, I feel like I was treated fairly because I went before her.
Yes.
So for me, it's about investing in the community. It's about bringing the judiciary to the community and the community into the judiciary to form this partnership, because that's what we need. In order to bring, there are lots of things going on in our community, but I firmly believe in order to bring about change, we have got to be the agents of change.
That's right.
Not to quote Chris Brown, but I'm going to quote Chris Brown.
You're welcome, Chris. You heard it here on the
I want to hear it.
In one of his songs, he said, how you gonna hate from outside the club? You can't even get in. And literally, for me, that's what service is about, and that's what part of this position is about. It's only so much that you can do from outside. But to truly impact and affect the community, you've got to be on the inside, working through from the inside to the out. So that's what I want to do for Fulton. I want to serve and serve the best I can, and with all that I have.
Woman of the people.
I am a music connoisseur of all sorts. So, and literally, that's been one of my phrases my entire career. Because when people would say to me, "So you're a black woman and you're a prosecutor," and I would say to them, "We need more minority prosecutors. How you gonna hate from outside the club? You can't even get in."
Oh my gosh, I'm closing out with that. All right. And so I know when you run a campaign, there might be some leftover residual. How can people still contribute if they need to, or how do people find you on socials or website, or, give us all that stuff.
Well, thank you. Campaigns are expensive. Getting the word out, especially in unconventional ways. And so my website is electkenyajohnson.com, and we still take contributions. We're retiring some debt now. We did leave it all on the table. Me and my family left everything on the table with no regrets. And so you can donate and you can contribute and be a part of the team at electkenyajohnson.com. I look forward to serving you beginning January 1st. And thanks again.
All right. And what about Instagram, Facebook?
Sure. On Instagram, I am Vote Kenya for Judge. And on Facebook, I am Kenya Johnson for Probate Court Judge.
Awesome. And how do we get at you?
To find me, you can go to Shermeala, SHERMELA FOR Judge.com on the internet, and then on IG, because I was told it's not the Instagram, it's IG.
It's IG.
Gram.
Yeah.
On IG, and
you're dating yourself.
I know. That's why I teach. It keeps me young. IG and Facebook, I am Shermeala FOR Judge, and on Twitter. Because I tweet too.
Okay.
On Twitter, I am Shermeala 4 Judge.
Awesome. Listen, thank you guys so much for being here. Judge-elect Shermeala Williams, Judge-elect Kenya Johnson. We are so happy that you were here. And again, we get examples all the time of what great looks like. When you know as a very young child what you want to do, don't let that passion die. Just because you're 30, 40, 50, it doesn't matter. If you can find out what your purpose is, you know what your passion is, you surround yourself with people smarter and better than you find a way to monetize it, I promise the world will be your oyster. You've been listening to According to Michelle on MixXX106Radio.com. It's Michelle Taylor Willis. I hope you've been following me on socials, and I hope that you are going to be watching every Wednesday at 5 p.m. on the AIB network. That's $2.95 on Comcast. That's Channel 6 on AT&T Universe. I don't know about you guys, but right now we are out. Listen, I'm so excited because I was actually able to catch up with Dr. John Lipman. He's the medical director and founder at Atlanta Fibroid Center. And when I tell you, this guy is the nation's leading expert on fibroids. It's Fibroid Awareness Week. Actually, it's Fibroid Awareness Month, the whole month of July. So I wanted to make sure I could catch up with him and let him kind of dissect really the nature and the science and the why behind fibroids. And I'm telling you, you don't want to hear this from anybody other than him. He has a whole wall full of certifications and accolades and degrees, and he's helped everybody from Cynthia Bailey to the woman you love next door tackle this problem with fibroids. So let's go into the OR really with Dr. John Lipman. Hey guys, it's Michelle Taylor Willis with another episode here of According to Michelle, and I am so excited because I'm actually about to conduct surgery with a little help from my friend here, Dr. John Lipman, who is the founder and the medical director of Atlanta Fibroid Center, and he is one of the nation's finest. He is the leading expert on fibroids, and as you know, or as you may not know, fibroids in Black women is a huge, huge thing, and it's a big challenge. And unfortunately, a lot of women end up getting surgery and hysterectomies unnecessarily. But Dr. Lipman has really been a champion for women, Black women especially, but all women really, to make sure that they don't lose their you. And those are his words, not mine. How did I do with that?
No, that was great. That's our tagline. Don't lose your you, because you being uterus. Because when you lose your you through a hysterectomy unnecessarily for benign fibroids, you often lose your YOU. What makes you you, sometimes, usually, is your uterus, your you. It's the essence of your womanness. And the bottom line is you don't need to lose your uterus, have a hysterectomy, when you're suffering with benign fibroids. If you're dealing with cancer, totally different matter. But the most common reason why women lose their uterus is for benign fibroids. And we got to put a stop to that because it's totally unnecessary. You can get the relief of symptoms. You can avoid the risks and long recovery of an operation with a very simple outpatient procedure we do right here. So it's not anything surgical. It's an outpatient procedure where patients literally go home the same day with just a Band-Aid. And it's a thing that's really underappreciated by a lot of doctors. You'd be surprised, even female physicians. They'll tell patients, well, you're done having your kids, just have it out. Just get a hysterectomy. You don't need your uterus anymore, as if the only function of your uterus
is to be able to produce children, right? Yeah.
And there are so many other functions of the uterus that are just ignored. It's important, as we mentioned, psychologically. We see these advertisements for Depends. And if you look at the Depends commercials these days, you'll see they're young women, and usually young women of color. And they'll be like 35, attractive black female wearing a diaper and like scooching on some skinny jeans, and there'll be something cute like, they'll never know what you're wearing, or
Right.
that you're wearing a diaper. Whoa, wait a minute. What in the world does a 35-year-old woman need to be wearing a diaper? I thought it's for like 90-year-olds. No, their target audience, they know exactly their target. The average age in this country for hysterectomy is 39, and I've seen way too many women less than 30 have already had a hysterectomy. And again, it's most commonly fibroids, so they're targeting these ads. I mean, Depends is made by somebody, Kimberly-Clark, Colgate, some big company, so it's Madison Avenue marketers. They know who their target is.
Right.
It's African-American women in their 30s and early 40s. That's who they want to get to wear these diapers because they're having hysterectomies. So all of this is unnecessary if you have this outpatient non-surgical UFE procedure, because the UFE treats every fibroid in the uterus. Doesn't matter if you have 1 or 100, doesn't matter how big or how many. You can knock them all out. The fibroids will die, and as they die, they soften and shrink. So a woman loses that pregnant poochiness. I often see women come in, they look pregnant, they're tired of people asking them when's the baby due, they're not pregnant, but their uterus is enlarged like a pregnant
Which
woman.
nobody should ever do.
Yeah,
by the
that's
way.
a-
Can we
that-
just get that out?
That's a bad one. I mean, there's no going back from that. It's like,
There's no recovering.
it's just like, ugh. You almost want to pull that thing back. When's the b-b-b-b? It's too late. It's already out there.
It's out there.
You're done. There's the big 3 symptoms when it comes to fibroids, and there are other symptoms, but the big 3 are heavy periods, pelvic pain and pressure, increased urinary frequency, and waking up at night to urinate. And it's because these fibroids are hard and firm. They're like rocks, and they press on things. And so depending on where they're located in the uterus will determine symptoms.
So where do these things come from? I mean,
Right.
you just, all of a sudden, these things start growing inside of your...
They happen in adult, probably 80% of African American women have these fibroids. African American women disproportionately suffer more than other racial groups. We can talk about why in a moment. But nobody knows where they come from. But once they arrive, and it's usually in adulthood, they will grow with estrogen and progesterone. So that's why they can grow really rapidly when a woman is pregnant. And it's why typically when a woman is in menopause, usually fibroids are not an issue anymore. They will grow under estrogen stimulation. So there's hormones throughout the food supply, even in the water. So you can't avoid hormones, but there are certain approaches. Like we'll take the approach of we want to try to decrease estrogenic foods. We want to increase anti-estrogenic foods. We want to supplement with vitamin D if we need to, and a lot of women need supplement. So we know they grow with estrogen, so the big estrogenic foods we want to try to limit or avoid. Red meat, chicken, non-organic free-range chicken, and dairy. If you can limit and try to avoid those, it's even better, but limiting them it will be helpful. Then you want to increase anti-estrogenic foods like colored fruits and vegetables. They have flavonoids in them, and those flavonoids block an enzyme that's really important in estrogen production.
Doesn't wine have flavonoids?
Red wine,
So we should
dark
drink
chocolate.
tons of red wine and
Red wine
lots
and
of
chocolate. Yep.
Oh yeah,
If you don't
done.
want to do colored fruits and vegetables, well, I don't know. I'll get that in.
I don't have
But-
any fibroids. I drink tons of red wine and chocolate all day, so I'm good.
Okay, well, that's good. Hereditary, it runs in families, more commonly in African American women. So a risk factor is if your mom or sisters have fibroids, you're likely to have fibroids. And another thing with estrogen is one of the reasons why African American women disproportionately suffer over other racial groups is in general they have more body fat than other racial groups. And estrogen is stored in fat. So another important thing is try to exercise. We talked about eating right. Try to exercise and lose that excess body fat, because everybody has the ideal weight. No one says you have to be skinny, but everybody has this ideal body weight for their frame. If you can approach that and lose excess body fat, you will definitely improve your fibroid symptoms.
Wow. So you mentioned like the number one cause or the number one symptom is heavy periods.
Yep.
Could someone have heavy periods and not have fibroids, or
Yes.
is there almost like a direct?
No, you can. There are a number of reasons that people can have heavy periods, but it's the most common one of those. There are two groups of heavy period people, if you will. There's the group of people that have heavy periods due to a structural abnormality. Usually it's fibroids. It's a benign tumor that's a structural thing in the uterus causing their bleeding. There are other women. Polyp is another structural cause. We mentioned the polyp earlier. Adenomyosis is another structural. There are also non-structural causes.
And adenomyosis is?
Adenomyosis is in the family of endometriosis. When the lining cells of the uterus, which are called the endometrium, when they're found outside the uterus, that's endometriosis. When those cells dive deeper into the muscle of the uterus, by definition, you can't call that endometriosis because it's inside the uterus. So they gave it its own name.
Gotcha.
There are non-structural causes for heavy periods. Some women have what's called a coagulopathy, and other women have thyroid issues. There are a number of these non-structural things, and it's a whole workup. But for the most part, the number one by far of all of them is fibroids, and you should think first of fibroids and try to rule that in or out.
Got you. So let me switch gears for a second, because you're from New York, right?
I am.
Upstate New York.
Rochester.
Rochester, New York. And I've got to believe that when you were 5, 6, 7 years old, you weren't running around thinking, I'm going to be saving ewes one day.
No, I did not think that.
Did you always want to be a doctor?
Either doctor or professional baseball player. I played baseball from a very young age, through college, even a little bit after college. Interventional radiology, I gotta say, is the coolest medical specialty there is. In fact, it's the number one toughest residency to get now.
Wow.
It's very recent, interventional radiology is only about 50 years old, so as a term of a medical specialty, it's not been around as long as surgery or pediatrics or,
Sure.
thing that around a long time, but it's cutting edge without the cutting. That's kind of their tagline. We can go anywhere in the body. We can almost treat really any disease almost from inside without cutting. Interventional radiologists, not myself anymore, because my practice is really focused on fibroids and women's health, but earlier on in my career when I was doing all different things interventional, like most interventional radiologists, you treat aneurysms in the brain, you treat aneurysms of the aorta, peripheral vascular disease, varicose veins, cancer, stroke, you name it. We're in every single organ system.
Right.
It's a tremendous procedure, to be able to do procedures that replace major operations. We invented angioplasty. We invented the stent. People think it's from cardiology because that's where you hear about
Sure.
it, putting a stent or an angioplasty in the heart,
Absolutely.
in a coronary. But all of those things, the angioplasty balloon, the stent, that was invented by Charles Dotter and Julio Palmaz. Those are interventional radiologists. We perfected that, and now in the heart pretty much is the domain primarily of cardiologists and interventional cardiologists. But in my fellowship and my residency, we would share the cardiac intervention. We were still doing it to some degree.
So how did you get from, all right, baseball's not going to work, to medicine, to, yep, I'm going to make sure we make more babies?
My dad is a physician. He's retired now. But so seeing him, he was an internal medicine doc. And so the medicine was kind of, looked up to him. Mom was a nurse, so, the medicine.
There was kind of no escaping that one.
Yeah, the medicine was in, although I have one brother, he's a lawyer and a judge, so, go figure. But, the medicine component was always there, and it was always something I was very interested in. And then it wasn't until medical school that I really saw, and I heard about this guy doing interventional radiology at a very small hospital. I went to Georgetown Medical School, and this small hospital was in suburban Virginia, and apparently this guy was doing some amazing stuff. So I contacted him and said, could I do an elective with you? And he was kind of tickled because I guess nobody had ever asked him that. And as it turns out, I mean, when I spent several weeks with him, it was clear I wanted to be like him, and that's where mentorship is so important. We have people come here, and I hope to be able to, you know, turn other people on to IR. In fact, there was a third-year medical student from Morehouse. I volunteer at Morehouse School of Medicine, and there was a third-year medical student here today watching me do the UFEs that I did today, and she's interested in going into IR. So that's really cool, and she's about to do her OBGYN rotation, so that should be interesting. She's seen, you know, 4 UFEs, and we'll see how it is.
She'll be on the other side.
She'll be on the other side.
Where's she going to land? Where's she going to land?
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. But so I heard about this guy doing some amazing stuff, and he really was amazing. And as it turned out now, in retrospect, I mean, this was back in the mid-'80s, he is now an icon in interventional radiology. His name is Barry Katzen. He started the Miami vascular system. He's got this huge, I don't know, 75,000 square foot vascular, multidisciplinary vascular center with interventional cardiologists, interventional radiologists, vascular surgeons. It's a tremendous, I mean, it's the Baptist health system, but he was the brainchild of it. He developed it. He's the medical director, and people come from all over the world to get, you know, treated there. So he's pretty much won everything you can win, and, you know, every medal in IR. So he's one of the legends. And, you know, as it happened, I just happened to see him at a really early part of his career, and man, it was clear I wanted to be I wanted to join that fraternity of IR. I don't know, be like him, but be in the fraternity anyway.
Well, and two, you really have this philanthropic piece to you, right? Because, I mean, you've made it your whole life's work pretty much to work with women.
Yep.
To make sure that they are not in unfortunate situations, right? Through lack of education, for sure. And so, but on top of that, you really do a lot outside of your clinical setting
we
to
try.
give back.
Yeah, I mean, we do what we can. I mean, my approach to, I mean, I don't have a 501c3. I don't have a specific foundation that I draw from, but, you know, it's my responsibility we're in this community. I'm a local business in this community. I feel there was a certain responsibility to the community, not only immediately around here, but also, you know, Atlanta in general. I feel I speak a lot in the community. Patients will come from all different parts of Atlanta to see me and to get treated by me. I feel I have a certain responsibility to them and their community as well. My practice is very dominant, probably at least 90% of the patients that see me are African American. And I feel a certain responsibility there.
But and you don't just feel the responsibility, but you lead the charge not just in saving lives, right? But also in making sure legacy is preserved. You don't just walk the walk or talk the talk. You actually execute. And I want to talk about really quickly this post I saw on LinkedIn about how you lived in the same neighborhood as Frederick Douglass, right?
I did.
And tell that.
Quite a few years after him. I'm not quite.
What? You're not that old?
Not quite that. I may look it, but
no,
but yeah, I'm literally a stone's throw. You know, where he lived and where he spent most of his life in my neighborhood, which was really cool. Learning about him in school, and there's a statue of him literally a stone's throw from my house. Where I grew up, and my parents still have that house. So yeah, I do feel a kind of a philanthropic need. My approach to philanthropy, as I say, I don't have this 501c3. I don't have any organization. It's just kind of me and my wife. I kind of take the approach of, you know, you kind of, I think Arthur Ashe actually was the person that coined this phrase, but it was like, you know, see where you are, use what you have, do what you can.
Right.
I mean, really simple stuff. And so, you know, we go out and we provide sanitary napkins for this woman that, I mean, she's an amazing woman. She provides and puts together herself these kits that are just simple necessities, you know, toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, you know, simple stuff for the homeless, for the poor, for the economically challenged. You know, so we provide the sanitary napkins for that pack, you know, that little thing she puts together. You know, we just try to do what we can do.
But that's the thing, Dr. Lipman, is that you execute. And a lot of people talk, and we're having all these discussions, which is great. But when you see a need, you actually execute, you feel it. I mean, and you're not going to say it, so I'll say it. I mean, to finish the story about Frederick Douglass, the statue that was there was torn down,
It
right?
was.
Vandals
Yep.
came and completely tore it down.
Yep.
You saw what needed to happen. And you didn't say, oh my gosh, this is awful, we got to do better. You said, what do we need to do to get it back up? And the statue's going back up.
It's going back up there, you know.
I mean, that's awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. We couldn't let that stand. I mean, just couldn't. And if there was a way for me to do it, I was going to do it. And fortunately, I did, and I could. We're out there talking to anybody who'll listen, and we appreciate you allowing us your platform to get that word out so that women will know all their options, and whatever they decide is obviously fine, but they need to know all their options, not just one option.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thanks again so much. And guys, listen, if you don't want to lose your you, then you need to call Dr. Lipman, right? But on top of that, just think about the ways that you can really do something. I hope that you will join us again next Wednesday at 5 p.m. In the meantime, take care.